What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut. And today, we are going to be looking at the Julio Jones draft day trade, which occurred back during the 2011 NFL Draft. Now, this trade was originally discussed in the original Trent Richardson trade, which will be linked down in the description below, but Julio Jones himself clearly deserves his own trade breakdown. So, this was a draft pick swap between the Atlanta Falcons and the Cleveland Browns that saw Atlanta trade up from the 27th overall selection to the 6th overall pick to get a wide receiver that they absolutely loved in Julio Jones. So how did this trade work out? We're going to start by, of course, looking at the Atlanta Falcons. So with the 6th overall pick, they would grab wide receiver Julio Jones. Jones had a solid rookie campaign as he caught 54 passes for 959 yards with 8 touchdowns. Now, his sophomore year, 2012, saw him step up as a wide receiver 1 for the team. He would record 79 receptions for 1,198 yards and a career-best 10 touchdowns. Atlanta would go on to make the playoffs, and Jones played well, recording 17 catches for 241 yards with a pair of touchdowns. Now, in the divisional rounds of the playoffs that year, he was used as a defensive back on a Hail Mary attempt, and he managed to intercept the ball, sealing the win for Atlanta. Always fun when that happens. Now, he was on pace for a statistically dominant season in 2013, but in the 5th game of the year, Julio fractured his foot, which unfortunately ended his season early. He did have 41 catches for 580 yards with a pair of touchdowns through 5 games. Now, he would begin an elite stretch of 6 years where Julio was just flat out dominant. In 2014, he would catch 104 passes for 1,593 yards as well as 6 touchdowns. Now, 2015 was his best season statistically speaking, as he set career highs in receptions with 136 and yards with 1,871. Now, he would add 8 touchdowns as well. In week 4 of the 2016 season, Jones had 12 catches for 300 yards and a victory over Carolina. This made him the 6th player in NFL history with 300 or more receiving yards in a single game. Now, despite missing a pair of games in 2016, Jones ended the year with 1,409 yards receiving with 6 touchdowns on 83 catches. Now, Jones was the focal point of all opponents' defensive game plans during the playoffs that year, and he ended the postseason with 19 catches for 334 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, Atlanta did go on to play in Super Bowl 51, and Jones would catch all 4 of his targets for 87 yards in the Super Bowl, but unfortunately, as we all know, Atlanta blew the 28-3 lead to New England. Never a good thing. Now, in 2017, Jones would catch 88 passes for 1,444 yards. However, he only managed to bring in 3 touchdowns that year. Now, he did have a strong showing in Atlanta's 2 playoff games, posting a combined total of 18 catches for 195 yards and a touchdown. And we all know that he was maybe interfered with during the NFC divisional round game against the Eagles, but we're not going to get into that. So, he had another very strong year in 2018, as he would record 113 receptions for a league high 1,677 yards, as well as 8 touchdowns. He would catch 88 passes in 2019, turning them into 1,394 yards and 6 touchdowns. Unfortunately, though, a hamstring injury would hamper Jones throughout the entire 2020 season, as he would only manage to play in 9 games that year. He would catch 51 passes for 771 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, during the offseason, Jones was called by a TV personality and former NFL player Shannon Sharpe, while Sharpe was live on TV for his television show. Now, Sharpe point-blank asked Jones if he wanted to remain a Falcon, and Julio, unaware of being on TV, said, quote, "I'm out of there," end quote. So this started the rumor mill, and Julio clearly wanted out. Atlanta was going to rebuild, and this eventually would lead to a trade. Now, this trade to Tennessee will get its own breakdown in the near future, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, very impressive player for the Atlanta Falcons. So he currently holds multiple franchise records, including most career receptions with 848, most career receiving yards with 12,896, and many more records. He was also the fastest player in NFL history to record 10,000 receiving yards, as well as other milestones like 7,000, 9,000 receiving yards. Very impressive. He was a 2-time first-team All-Pro selection, a 3-time second-team All-Pro selection, a 7-time Pro Bowler, and he led the NFL in receiving yards twice. He also led the NFL in receptions 1 time. He is a member of the NFL 2010's All-Decade Team, and in all likelihood, he is a future Hall of Famer. Very impressive for a single player for Atlanta. They got exactly what they wanted out of Julio Jones. So how did the Cleveland Browns do? So Cleveland got 5 picks in return for the 6th overall selection. So the first of which was the 27th overall, and this was traded to the Kansas City Chiefs in exchange for the 21st. And with the 21st pick, Cleveland would grab defensive tackle Phil Taylor. Now, Taylor had a career year as a rookie, which is never a great thing. He would record career highs in tackles with 59, sacks with 4, and forced fumbles with a single 1. Now, unfortunately for him, he had a knee injury cut his second season early as he registered a single sack with 14 tackles over 8 games. Now, he had a healthy year in 2013, but he would struggle, recording 2 sacks with 26 tackles. Now, he would hurt his other knee 5 games into the 2014 season, ending the year with only 10 tackles. Now, he was cut prior to his 5th season due to his contract being larger and just not great play when healthy. So Cleveland still got 4 more picks in exchange for Julio Jones. The 59th selection was one of them, and they would use that to grab a wide receiver named Greg Little. So Little was the team's top receiver as a rookie, catching 61 passes for 709 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now in 2012, he had 53 receptions for 647 yards, while adding a career-high 4 touchdowns. Now, unfortunately for him, he would catch only 41% of the passes thrown his way in 2013, ending the year with only 41 receptions for 465 yards with 2 touchdowns. Now, he dropped a lot of passes, and he ends up getting released after 3 seasons due to these constant drops as a receiver. And obviously, they didn't have the best quarterback play, but you can't blame drops on bad quarterback play. Now, they also got the 124th pick in the 2011 draft, and they would use that to grab fullback Owen Markic. And Markic was decent. He spent 2 years as the Browns' lead run blocking back, so he would constantly be helping out the running game. Now, he himself only ran the ball 4 times for 8 yards, but he did catch 5 passes for 31 yards in those 2 years. Now, they got 2 2012 picks as well, the first of which was the Falcons' first-round pick, which became the 22nd overall, and the Browns would use that to select quarterback Brandon Weeden. Oh boy, the pick of Weeden just made waves around the NFL, as he was 28 years old, making him the oldest ever player to be selected in the first round of the NFL draft. Now, he had gone into Major League Baseball, the minor leagues, and he decided, I'm not going to do this, so he went back to college, played football, played well. So he was a risky pick because of his age. How did he pan out? Well, he won the starting job as a rookie, but he had a miserable debut game against Philadelphia, going 12 for 35 with 118 yards and 4 interceptions. He also fumbled the ball twice, but neither of those fumbles were lost. Now, he would go 5-10 as a starter as a rookie, throwing 14 touchdowns with 17 interceptions and 3,385 yards. Now, he would begin the 2013 season as a starter, but he would suffer a thumb injury and was moved to a backup role. He ended up getting the starter job back, but struggled, and was promptly moved back to the bench. Now, he would end the year with 1,731 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions, but notably an 0-5 record as a starter. Now, he was released shortly after the conclusion of the season. For a first-round pick, that's not good to only make it 2 years with your team. Now, they also got a 4th-round pick in the 2012 draft. This would be the 118th pick, and this was traded away. We discussed this in the newer, cleaner version of the Trent Richardson trade, which will also be linked in the description below. So that's how Atlanta and Cleveland, the 2 main teams in this trade, did. How did the other team involved, the Kansas City Chiefs, do? So they got a pair of picks for trading the 21st away, the first of which was the 27th pick. Now, this would become the 26th pick because Baltimore, who held the 26th pick, ran out of time picking, and Kansas City knew who they wanted, so they submitted their pick right away. Thus, they were allowed to move up the 1 spot. So, now, they would use the 26th pick to select wide receiver Jonathan Baldwin. And Baldwin was expected to earn a big role on the team's offense as a rookie, but he really missed out his opportunity after hurting his wrist in a fight with a teammate in the preseason. Now, he ended up playing 11 games as a rookie, but he was a disappointment, recording only 21 receptions, granted for 254 yards with a touchdown. He had a similar year in 2012, as he would catch 20 passes for 325 yards and 1 touchdown. However, after 2 disappointing years with Kansas City, he would be traded away for another disappointing receiver. We will not be discussing that trade. Now, they also got the 70th selection in this trade, and they would use that to select linebacker Justin Houston. Now, Houston was a first-round prospect, but he failed a drug test at the combine, which led to him sliding down to round 3. He had a solid rookie campaign for Kansas City, recording 5.5 sacks, 4 passes defended, and 56 tackles. He would become a full-time starter in 2012, and he quickly blossomed into a star, recording 10 sacks, 6 passes defended, 1 interception, and 66 tackles. He had an amazing 11 games in 2013, as he would record 11 sacks, 4 passes defended, and 44 tackles before an elbow injury forced him to miss 5 games on the season. So, still a very talented player. Now, he had 4.5 sacks in a single game, which happened to be against the Eagles. And it happened to be Andy Reid's first game against Philadelphia. Now, he absolutely dominated the 2014 season, as he almost broke Michael Strahan's single-season sack record of 22.5 sacks, as he managed to record 22 himself. He also forced 4 fumbles while adding 5 passes defended and a career-high 69 tackles. Now, in 2015, a knee injury would cut his season short, but over 11 games, he still managed to get 7.5 sacks, and this was while drawing more coverage as he had just dominated the year before. So, he also managed to record a pair of interceptions, returning one of them to the house for his only career touchdown. Now, unfortunately for him, he needed to undergo surgery on his ACL, which forced him to miss a large chunk of the 2016 season, limiting him to only 5 games. But during those 5 games, he managed 4 sacks and 21 tackles. Now, he played well again in 2017, ending the year with 9.5 sacks and 5 passes defended. In 2018, he recorded 9 sacks himself. However, after the season, he was released as a cap casualty. Still, he was a 1-time first-team All-Pro selection, a 4-time Pro Bowler, and he led the NFL in sacks once. So this was one of those trades that, like I said, we discussed in the original Trent Richardson trade breakdown, but more than worth discussing again on its own because Julio Jones, a very important player. Stay tuned for the future Julio Jones to Tennessee trade breakdown. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. The clear winner of this trade, Atlanta. Second place, clearly Kansas City, just because of Justin Houston. Cleveland, quantity, quality. You got to go with quality over quantity. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a good rest of your day.